What is up, YouTube? My name is Jake, and welcome to the first episode ever of Curtis Review. This is where I talk about movies, TV shows, and other media that I find to be important, relevant, and quite frankly, just awesome. So if you're into that kind of stuff, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. There's going to be lots more videos coming out in the future. Without further ado, let's jump into today's topic, which is Atlanta Season 4, Episode 1, titled The Most Atlanta. This episode is directed by Hiro Murai and written by Stephen Glover, both mainstays of the series and very crucial to the vision, look, and feel of the show. So we start off with one of the four main characters of the show, Darius, who is in a department store. He's trying to do a return on an air fryer. While this is happening, in true shenanigans form for Darius, the store's being looted and he's acting like nothing's really going on. So he goes to the customer service counter. He's like, hey, yo, can I get a return on this? Like, I got it as a gift. I don't need it anymore. I just wanted to get the cash back or do a trade. The department store guy's like, dude, do you see what's going on here? So he initiates the return eventually because Darius is just like, well, I mean, it's not that weird to me. It just looks like a Marshall's now. So he opens the cash register to give him the cash, and then he's like, no, I'm gonna dip out of here. He steals the money, runs out of the department store, and leaves Darius there like, you know, what just happened? Darius tries to walk out with the air fryer, and then what do we see but a woman who is in a wheelchair guarding the door of the store, trying to stop the looters from stealing. If my life depends on it, you all will not steal from this store. Actually based on a real clip of an actual woman who was doing that during the looting and protests of 2020. Look that clip up. Atlanta is notorious for taking like videos that go viral and kind of adding it to their universe. Darius walks past her. She ends up getting hosed by some other people like with fire extinguishers, and she emerges covered in like white dust with a knife, and people are like, oh my god, she's got a knife. So that's sort of where the first plot happens. Darius takes off, this woman just unrelentingly chasing him in this automatic wheelchair. That whirring noise is something to remember for later. So then we get into the second plot, where Darius meets up with Alfred, aka Paperboy, another one of our main characters, played by Brian Tyree Henry. Alfred seems off. He's in the car. He's, he wants to get to the airport. Darius is like, where are you gonna go? You don't really like anywhere else. Like, doesn't matter. New York, LA, Jamaica, wherever you end up, you don't really end up liking it. But then they find out on the radio that Blue Blood, who is a rapper from this show's universe, has passed away. He actually passed away 3 months prior to when they announced it. I actually was kind of slow on the uptake. This is a direct reference to MF Doom, who passed away in late 2020. Same thing happened with him. He had passed for quite some time, but it wasn't until months later, around like Christmas, New Year's 2020. So RIP to a legend. They have made him, in some regard, part of this, Atlanta landscape. There's actually music that plays by Blue Blood in Alfred's car. Earl Sweatshirt is the one who is doing the music for that fictional character, which is really cool. For Earl fans, you will know that he's a big MF Doom fan, so some kind of cool connections there. The layers of the show are just so cool. So anyway, Blue Blood put a scavenger hunt into the lyrics of an album he put out right before he died, and Al ends up following these breadcrumbs to many different places: barbecue store, a pool, a laundromat, an arcade, a movie theater, all of these things leading him to the end of the scavenger hunt. Now, before we get to that, we'll get to our last plot, which is Earn and Van. Van played by Zazie Beetz, Earn played by none other than Donald Glover. They're actually at the mall, they're shopping. The sort of will they won't they connection that Van and Earn have here is like definitely played up for comedy, because they start running into all their exes, and it's kind of weird. It's got this like Shining, Get Out vibe where they just start seeing all these people that they used to date. It reminds me of like, when I live in San Diego now, but when I was in my hometown in Louisville, it's like you couldn't throw a stone without running into somebody that you knew. And it's really funny at first, and then you start to feel like, wow, it's like, why are these people here? And then, one of the exes is like, oh, I've been trapped here forever. And then another one's like, I feel like I've just been lost for a long time, and I'm trying to find a gift for my dad. Eventually what happens is they both are like, let's get out of here, like this is weird. And they get to the parking garage, and like the parking numbers have changed, they can't find their car, and it kind of ends up with them finding this secret tunnel that is carpeted and sopping wet, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it seems to be the only way out of this like hellscape that they've entered into. So you get some of that horror, like you get kind of that weird off-kilter vibe. It still feels light, it still feels like an adventure, and I think that's what's so great about this episode. Ern, Van, and then Kenya, who's one of the exes who followed them through this random exit, they kind of get birthed, so to speak, into the funeral home where Al has ended up at the end of this scavenger hunt for blue blood. Now, I won't spoil a lot of the fun stuff that happens in those sequences with Al because it really is the best part of the episode, and you know, he ends up getting past some wisdom from Keisha, who is Gary, aka Blue Blood's wife. You know, she basically says that, you know, I just wish that he'd had more fun and enjoyed this, and you know, he worked so hard, and it's really all about just like having fun and enjoying the process. And I think that is such great wisdom for anybody, but especially for people like Al, who has been dealing with so much since, you know, the beginning of the show. And it's really cool to see how it's coming full circle. And you know, Al was so fun and lighthearted, and just felt so like excited to be getting into rap in the beginning. And you kind of see him, you know, falling into fame and what that does to you. And then he like lost track of his creative flow and his creative practice in season 3, dealing with his mom passing, a bad trip he had in Amsterdam, and he's just dealt with a lot of stuff. So it's really cool that they're setting up what I think is going to be a happy-ish ending. It makes me appreciate season 3 more. You know, they really made Atlanta into a character here, and I haven't seen a show do that so succinctly since The Wire, which if you haven't seen, it's on HBO Max. I would definitely recommend give that an immediate view if you need something to watch, because that show's great. Like just seeing those bird's eye view like drone shots in the beginning is such a callback to the beginning of the show, and they play the Chief Keef song. Ever since the beginning, you have always just been strapped into this roller coaster that once you're on that roller coaster, you're not getting off until they're done. That shit can hit the fan real fast. So everybody ends up leaving the funeral home. Darius is waiting out in the parking lot, and essentially he's just been being chased by a wheelchair Karen. He is like, yo, Al, can we get out of here? Gotta get out of here real quick. So everybody gets in the car. Kenya, who's one of the lost exes from Atlanta Station, she ends up staying behind. She's like, no, I'm good. Like, you know, I'm already calling my Uber. So she gets the Uber. That Darius is like, why don't you take this air fryer? Because she's like, oh my gosh, I've like completely forgot I had to get a gift for my dad. He kind of, in like It Follows fashions, passes the curse, so to speak, onto Kenya. And then the last shot of the episode is over shoulder shot, back of Kenya's head, and you hear the automated wheelchair whirring noise coming up behind her. And that is Atlanta, season 4, episode 1. This was the first Curtis review of all time. If you liked this, again, like this video, subscribe. Peace.